And the magic machine tells me that I'm live, and Mario Heat is indeed first to the live chat. Congratulations to Mario Heat on being first to the live chat. Cataloging New Age thoughts and beliefs. So today is September 30th, 2020, Wednesday. Yesterday was the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joseph Biden. I do not want to talk about the debate at all. So no. Mario Heat asks, is this a debate review? 100% no. It's not a debate review at all. I'll say two things about the debate, and then we will move on to my kind of thought of the day and little project. I called this in anticipation part one. We don't know if it'll get further than that, but it'd be interesting. My thoughts on the debate. I think I can summarize, what I think needs to be said by saying, simply two things. Number one, if I or any other attorney or any other pro se party were to behave in even municipal court in the way that Donald Trump behaved, the president of the United States, we would not only be admonished and sanctioned. I do believe at some point we would have been escorted out by the police to jail. The temptation of broaching that subject is to immediately invite people to say, oh, but wasn't Joe Biden as bad? No. I'll be honest with my opinions. I will be honest with my assessments. The science that supports the theory of intelligent design is not on par and does not stand toe to toe with the scientific knowledge that supports Darwin's theory of evolution. The science or purported science that supports flat Earth does not stand toe to toe and mano a mano with the evidence of a globe. Just because a debate can be enjoined does not mean that a debate exists. The president's behavior at last night's debate was shocking and is an indicator to me, as always, that we now live very much in the future, right? You used to see movies like The Running Man or, Soylent Green, and would say, oh my God, one day, if we don't put it together, if we don't get it together, we'll end up there. Oh, we're there. There's a reality TV show host in charge of one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful nation in the free world. May Goddess have mercy on all our souls. Second point that I'll make briefly regarding the debate is to say that I am anxious over the fact that when given an opportunity to clearly state that no matter what the outcome of the election, pro or con, for him, there would be a commitment to a smooth transition of power. At which point the president said some nonsense regarding no transition between Hillary Clinton. Well, Hillary Clinton was never president of the United States, so I have no idea what he's talking about. But then he basically kept on asserting the fact that it could be months before we figure out the election. He basically guaranteed that there was going to be shenanigans. I believe it was Maya Angelou who said, I could be mistaken, but I think it was Maya Angelou who said, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them the first time. Right? Shenanigans are in the offing, and that is just not the greatest place for our country to be. One pro-Biden thing I will say, though, is this: thought magic. The magic of making thoughts and ideas materialize into existence by the power of suggestion or the power of putting forth. It may sound as though I'm being extremely woo-woo when I mention that concept, but of course, we talked about it last night. Advertising, word-of-mouth advertising, creating a buzz, human psychology. Humans are influenced, and if you introduce a thought or idea into the zeitgeist, into the collective unconscious, it can remain there, and it can establish and help lay the groundwork for plans and ideas and concepts that you want to, and historical events that you want to see vest and come into existence. And I think that there's been a lot of this on the pro-Trump right, the notion of creating a mythology that the election will only be able to be understood as being accurate if it shows a victory for Trump, and that any other outcome would be a default proof of shenanigans or malfeasance or fraud, and therefore some sort of suspension of the electoral process or a disregarding of the election would be appropriate or allowable, right? I have no respect for Joseph Biden's politics, but I will say that he did, I think, significantly fight that almost psychological, metaphysical battle by asserting and reasserting clearly that Donald Trump had no power to disregard the election, and that if people voted him out of office, he would go, and he would have to go. And I think if you review Joseph Biden's language, Vice President Biden's language, very carefully, it demonstrates that if not he, someone within his camp understands the word magic that's being practiced on the right. Understand this: meme magic is real. Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, like him or lump him, acknowledges the existence of meme magic, as on some fundamental levels, so has Sam Harris, as well as other people on the left. Clearly, succinctly putting into the collective unconscious a solid thought and visualization of a scenario. He, Donald Trump, doesn't have the power to ignore the election. If he's voted out of office, he will have to go. It's almost like an exorcism. It's almost like a clearing, right? I like it when people are extremely honest mystically. There are places in the world where there is no where there isn't this ossified veneer of pragmatic rationality covering all interactions, thereby allowing all sorts of black witches, black magic widow witches, and evil wizards and sorcerers to do all sorts of mental psychological spellcraft, play all sorts of narcissistic games at the conference room table, play all sorts of, psychologically affecting and affecting, mood moves in discourse online and in around the home or with friends and neighbors at the PTO meeting. There are wonderful places in the world where people will still acknowledge when you've given them the evil eye. And they don't fuck around and they don't worry about whether it looks funny to you or them. You give them the shit, you give them the evil eye, you give them the bad vibe, they instantly take a specific specified action to remedy this, right? You try and put the whammy on them in some shape or form. These are not the droids you're looking for. They tell you, don't fuck with me. I don't fuck around. Don't justify, make no move towards justifying the innocence of that subtle, shitty thing you just said. I'm calling it. It's called. It's called out. Fuck you. Yes. Baz says Malaysia, Indonesia, Italy, Rome. You know what I mean? There are plenty of places worldwide where some shit goes down, the salt gets thrown, right? The sagebrush comes out, and it's just, don't tell me I didn't see what I just saw. Don't tell me you didn't do what you just did. And counteractive and proactive measures are taken. Everything has a bad side. Everything has a potential good side. Potential good side, putting houses in order, maintaining personal space and boundary, affirming on a fundamental level your personal sense and strength and integrity, right? Bad things that can happen, like any magical thinking, if taken too far, can drive, a person to, paranoia, or delusion. We always aim for some sort of happy middle. I'm getting better at not worrying about defining and justifying on every level and to all people everything I might say. I'm getting better at accepting the fact that certain things that I might say may come off sounding crazy. We'll do something to describe and explain it. The notion that any of these thoughts, though they may be couched in our individual conversation today as mystical, all of those things are rooted in simple aspects of human psychology and natural phenomena and observable sociological things. Golden One Coin 100 says, you okay, CW? I can hear the sound trembling in your voice. That may be the result of the fact that I am self-conscious of not being too loud. We are recording at 1:39 p.m. in the afternoon. There is a proceeding in the conference room immediate to my right. So in order to be respectful of other people in the office, I may be speaking at a softer modulated tone. For a variety of reasons that may create this effect that you seem to be picking up on, the notion that my voice is trembling. I don't think that that's the case. but especially it just may be that you're not used to this register, and therefore it seems, odd to you, or or it may also simply be that for a variety of that it's a combination platter, speaking in this lower tone of voice, but also, people, I had a cough a couple of days ago. Um, so, you know, and it's funny. I get to this point where we've talked this much about it, and I say to myself, also, I could have simply answered, yes, yes, I'm okay. But I guess the explanation provides some 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 context. So there you go. We've addressed my voice. I feel like, what I'm immediately reminded of? That episode of The Simpsons where the George Bush. I always get confused and I always get like scared that I'm gonna incorrectly identify one George Bush as the other. Like, there's this thing like you can call one. What is it? You call 140. One is 40 and the other's 42. Bush 42. Let me see this. Right, yeah, because one of them is. Oh no, this is George H.W. Bush. Hold on. Or you could call him George W. Bush is the junior. George H.W. Bush is the senior. So, it's 41 and 43. So it's George H.W. Bush, George Bush 41. The episode where he moved in and becomes moves next door to the Simpsons on the TV show The Simpsons. And they play a prank on him, Bart and Homer do, where they glue a rubber wig, not rubber wig, they glue a rainbow wig to his, they glue a rainbow wig to his head, and he, his barber, I guess, sculpts it to the best of his ability, and he's speaking at like a Friars Club or something, or like a Shriners Convention or Rotary Club, and he gets to the end of his speech. He goes, does anyone have any questions? And immediately everyone raises their hand. He goes, bearing in mind that I've already explained the hair, and all the hands go down. For some reason, this back and forth, this protracted explanation of my lower tone of voice, for some reason, reminds me of that episode. Make of that what you will. Out of Mind says, this just in, only 24 hours to join Shilcox. This is David Wilcox. Wife's priestess path. Step right up and waste your time and money while you still can. Laugh my ass off. Yes, it is so interesting. That's part of the inspiration of today's video. Not necessarily David Wilcox or his wife, but I thought today, this morning, I start thinking early about what kind of video that I'm going to make today, what the topic is going to be, what we're going to talk about. And I knew that I could do thoughts and opinions regarding last night's presidential debate. I knew that I didn't necessarily want to do that. And I knew what then usually happens is that this is very common, where I'm going through the process of discovering or trying to discover what the day's video is going to be about. And usually the first kind of impulse is there's usually something in the air, something topical or similar, where it seems, okay, that could be it. And then there's a dealing with whether or not that's going to be it. And oftentimes there's this contrary force that says no. Even though for a variety of reasons, because it's topical and because of this, that, and the other thing, it should be that, or that would get views, or that would be something people would be interested in, or whatever. There's oftentimes this kind of counteracting force that says, no, not that, not that, not the debate. And then what will then happen is that initial thought or concept having subsided or been dealt away with, what will come to the surface is just kind of usually a mix of various things that I've been thinking about, things that are personal to where my head is going lately. And then oftentimes there might be a refutation of that, because sometimes the thoughts and ideas are too esoteric, or I don't necessarily know, or they're very individual and I don't necessarily know if they would be, attractive or would generate enough frisson and discussion with the live chat to warrant moving forward with them. And then, but then sometimes they stick. So I've been thinking about this cataloging New Age thought and belief, and that's just how I put it when I did an initial web search just prior to going this video. Here's the thought. Here's the idea. Also, wait, hold on, I want to do this. Vanessa, just on off topic. Vanessa Thor writes, my friend joined her priestess retreat and she got to hang out with Elizabeth naked. That's all. Carry on. Now, here's what's interesting. I understand that this class, this priestess class, may be given, or may be being given or hosted or supported, or may be connected in some way to David Wilcock's 501c3 charitable organization. Just kind of freeballing here when I suggest and I think out loud. I wonder if there's an interaction with the 501c3 and U.S. constitutional law that would influence or determine whether or not Elizabeth could bar entry to any particular class that she gives based on gender or assumed gender. I guess the reason I ask is the following. Is there a means by which an opportunity or potential opportunity exists within the fabric of reality to support the manifestation of the possible alternative timeline wherein, say, in, I don't know, June of 2021, CW Chanter comes to the channel and says something to the effect of, I just joined Elizabeth Wilcock's priestess retreat and I got to hang out with Elizabeth naked. Just a thought. Just a thought. We have found being inquired as to what they thought of the class. Vanessa feeds back. She actually really loved it and felt a new sense of freedom and empowerment. Then again, she also loved Teal Swan's retreat. So there you go. Yeah, there you go. Only ladies. That is, Vanessa, here's the thing. That's what raises the constitutional question. Because if they're a 501c3 and they have a class for female empowerment, I'm telling you, it gets edgy, because there's all sorts of clubs, organizations who in previous incarnations were exclusively quote unquote gentlemen's clubs. And especially even when it's interpreted that things can be gender specific, in today's day and age, the issue of transgender rights is explicit. I don't have to shave my beard. I don't have to get any sort of medical operation in order to, under certain aspects of the law, assert my female identity. There's some people that point to that and say, well, that shows that the whole thing is topsy-turvy, cuckoo crazy, and ridiculous. It's not for me to say. It's for me to say, hey, it's interesting. There you go. But anyway, before we go too far off the field, I think it's interesting to contemplate and to think about, to allow that conversation to take place, because it gets us one step closer to talking about what I'm threatening to talk about, which was this. So here was my thought of the morning. And it's come up in my brain periodically. You know, when we don't name things, when we don't catalog things, when we don't get it down on paper, oftentimes broad subjects especially can seem absolutely undefinable. Absolutely undefinable. And huge. But when we start going through the process of simplifying it and really thinking about it and naming it and contemplating numbering it, these vast subjects can get pared down, and you can realize something, which is, geez, you can get a pretty good handle on defining and understanding these things, though it might not be a 10-point list, though it may not be 25 things. And the question comes down to, if we don't get involved in the minutia of each individual subsection and subtopic, can we catalog the basic premises of New Age thought and belief? Which is to say, can we come up with a list that may not define a list of belief systems or beliefs that clearly not every New Ager would believe in all of them, but which generally we can say and understand constitutes those factors that, when taken in various permutations, lead us to either self-identify or self-define, or define the others, or think of another as a New Ager, right? And we're definitely not going to be the first people to do this. And, I can tell them we're not going to be the first people to do this because, I was thinking, and I thought about it myself. I was like, it's really not that insurmountable list, right? There's certain things from Eastern traditions, Hinduism and Buddhism, reincarnation, chakras, karma, dharma, right? There's things from the Western esoteric traditions, occult traditions, cartomancy, tarot cards, geomancy, stones and crystals, right? different levels of, Kabbalistic notions of ascending up levels of purification, the identification of the existence of angels or demons, right? The acceptance of ancient, more ancient pre-Christian traditions, whether in the New World of, respect or an adoption of Native American or First Peoples teachings and beliefs, or beliefs or native or culturally native beliefs coming out of Africa, you know what I mean? Or culturally unique pre-Christian ideals of, was it Astreyu from the land of the Vikings, or Wiccan beliefs or witchcraft. And yeah, and of course, if you go into any of these individual subjects, they can multiply. Because, so for example, if we take a concept like yoga, the various beliefs about yoga and the various schools of thought about yoga, classical or new, um, you know, it goes into a multitude. But if you bring back, it's like this. There's this notion of, if we can visualize what's known as levels of abstraction or levels of fidelity, meaning this. Okay, if we zoom in real close, let's think about Christianity, and let's think of something at a level of low fidelity, big general concepts. The accepting of Jesus Christ as your Lord and personal Savior, the action of accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and personal Savior, saving you from hell and damnation. Right? One aspect, one credo, general credo of Christianity at this high level of abstraction, zoomed far out, this low level of fidelity, not specified, not nuanced, not involving cosmological or theological detailed arguments, right? Low fidelity, high abstraction. If you zoom in into high fidelity, high focus, then immediately all the distinctions not only occur between, Catholic or, emergent versions or interpretations or allowances or aspects of Christianity, of the body of Christ, Baptist traditions, Anabaptist traditions, Quakers versus, Mormons, etc., etc. If you zoom in, then, what makes a Christians or what constitutes being saved can become, very detailed and lead to differences, definable and understandable differences, not only between a Catholic and a Baptist abstracted, but in the case of the specific instances of specific people, specific Catholics, right? I'm a Catholic. I consider myself a Catholic. Not speaking hypothetically here. An individual could say, I'm a Catholic. I define myself as Catholic. I'm gay. And I think that Jesus Christ loves me. And I have a personal relationship with him. I'm a Catholic. I define myself as Catholic. I don't believe necessarily in historical Jesus, but I believe in the message of the church and the message of the red words in the Bible. You know, um, you know, at a high level of abstraction and low fidelity, the Rastafarian, the Catholic, the Mormon, and certain New Age people following A Course in Miracles all fit comfortably and safely and logically under the rubric of Christian. But of course, when we get into the specifics and zoom in, the complications and the differences multiply. So pulling out at a level of abstraction, could we think of what constitutes generally New Age belief and thoughts. And I said, before, we're not the first people to do this. And I knew that because I remember there was this, it was very popular on Rogue Factions, this How About Santeria? There's aspects of Santeria, there's aspects of voodoo or voodoo belief that clearly are New Age. A lot of this would be touch upon the things that we talked about with pre-Christian belief systems, ancient, shamanistic belief systems. And so, like, not every New Ager would believe or comport with all aspects of Santeria, and certainly not every practitioner of Santeria would consider themselves a New Ager. In fact, they might bristle at the implication, saying that no, that's a misunderstanding of my belief system, or my New Age belief is this or the other thing. So the other thing is this, is that we want to get away from the loaded judgment of the word, or judgments people may have about the term New Age, right? We're not talking about whether or not we can come up with a catalog of definitions or terms that include things like airy fairy, believe in whatever comes along, nonsensical, foolish, foolhardy, love and light nonsense bullshit that you pick up in a 5 and 10 cent store. No, we're not trying to throw in any sort of external observational baggage, right, regarding, judgments on what is New Age, or whether New Age is proper, or whether it's a proper term, or whether it's a derisive or degrading or patronizing term to use. And that's part of it. That's part of what I think is the issue, is that when taken as a whole and not named and claimed, when taken as this big ball of energy of various topics, thoughts, judgments, cultural understandings, subjective understandings, kind of, ill-defined objective notions about what it is or what it isn't, the whole thing in moving as a moving target can seem huge. But then I thought, like you just heard me at the beginning, just run through some things, and it's basically like, you could probably do it on one page. Catalog those thoughts and ideas, not the individual notions of karma and dharma, but we could throw down the terms, most likely, and probably know and understand. And doing that and getting it down to 1 page or 2 pages, look at it and say, this is not as complicated and hard to understand. Because for each of those things, though each of those subsections could open a door into potentially endless wanderings and observations about interpretation and history, at a low level of fidelity, you can easily see, like tarot cards. The history of tarot cards, the Wikipedia entry on the history of tarot cards is not 10 miles deep and 5 miles wide. Even a subject like Freemasonry, it's, though there might be 100 books of esoteric interpretation, at the core, the central themes and ideas that all those esoteric meanderings and wanderings are addressing, contemplating, and discussing are actually few in number. Are actually pretty few in number. The other thing I thought about is that I was reminded of on Twitter, and I had seen it before in earlier aspects and incarnations of my life, but I saw it most recently on Twitter as a point of, fun and mockery. Several occult-inspired or New Age-inspired individuals that I used to follow on Twitter were circulating this, and this happens every once in a while. It pops up like every year on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. These pamphlets or like broadsides or little flyers from that are produced by evangelical Christian organizations warning people about the dangers of New Age. And it'll say things like, has your Christianity been invaded by the New Age, or are you inadvertently practicing New Age ideas? And it'll give this laundry list of things like yoga, observing Christmas, you know what I mean? Like, lighting candles, you know what I mean? Praying to things that aren't Jesus, you know what I mean? Like, reading your horoscope. It'll be this litany of things. And the joke is, and the people that I like on Twitter and social media that throw it around or go, look at these people acting as though this is a huge, like, that there's a God in the universe that gives a fuck about whether or not you're being led astray by Satan and Satan's tool, a fortune cookie. Literally, right? It gets nuts. So anyway, so check this out. I know that people are in the live chat. I know that people are primarily concerned with David Wilcock's wife, and those individuals engaged in various aspects of nudity or swinging or whatever. And so I understand that. So just, I guess, don't be distracted by me. Let me do this. Actually, you know what? I can see that there's some quality in the live chat. Let me take a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the top of the live chat, or to the top of where I think we last left off. And I'm just going to bear with me. There might be some dead air and silence as I kind of read through, kind of picking up and picking and choosing. Then we're going to go, we could take a look at some basically some articles that, because when I came to do the video today, I said, before I jump in about this, I said, I know and understand that other peoples have contemplated and thought about this. Let me, go in and just do a web search where I literally search for cataloging New Age thoughts and beliefs. And there's a ton of articles that obviously come from evangelical movements. There's also Wikipedia entries on New Age. What does that mean? How far will that get us into our discussion? Anywho, so let me just go down I'm just going to take a quick look. And then also part of the cataloging indicates, because people have already talked about things like Elizabeth Wilcock and her priestess retreat, David Wilcock, and also people have mentioned the name Teal Swan. We can also think about YouTube channels like Spirit Science and various other, New Age or practitioners on YouTube, including, David Icke loves to say that the New Age is a delusion or an illusion. In what way, shape, or form is David Icke not New Age? It's fundamental to his belief system, the notion that chakras are real. He talks about chakras all the time. I have a book that he wrote in 2003 called Tales from the Time Loop. You can probably guess why I'm reading that. And in it, it's all about Machu Picchu and ley lines and, vortexes and chakras. And we're all universal, and that's on Advaita philosophy, non-dual thinking, the belief that this world is a matrix or Maya, the notion of the world being the matrix. Like, the reason the film The Matrix appeals to people is not because the Matrix said something fundamentally so unique and abstracted and new. It's that it said in a new way a basic tenet of Buddhist and Hindu philosophy. This world is an illusion. You suffer because you suffer under the belief that these illusional things, are real, and that blind you from the real things like love or transcendent knowledge, that we're all interconnected in some, vast, schema, vast hidden schema. And this can be revealed by having awakening experiences. And that's why the psychedelic practitioners saw the Matrix and were like, oh my, yes. And all the Buddhist and Hindu teachers were like, oh my God, we're going to get the kids. And even David Icke wrote a book, Children of the Matrix, because it plugs right into pre-existing thoughts, ideas, and notions about reality, discussions about the nature of reality that have been happening not just since, I mean, look at Plato. Was it Plato? Was it the cave? The allegory of the cave? Or look at the Bhagavad Gita and the notion of Maya and illusion. Whether it's ancient Greece, ancient Iceland, ancient Arizona plain, right? Ancient Africa, ancient India. Believe you me, we were barely out of furs and loincloths before people started saying, you know, man, you ever get the feeling that this like whole thing is kind of bullshit? You know what I mean? Like the chieftain, like I was watching the chieftain take a shit the other day and I thought to myself, this is like a fucking scam. This whole thing's a fucking scam. Right? You know what I mean? Anywho, maybe I've been getting lost in the weeds. No pun intended. Do 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 do. Ba 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 ba. Do 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 do. CW's MGTOW Retreat Symposium could be a thing. It could be a thing. A very, very, very sad thing. You know what I mean? We're going to get our clothes off and we're going to sweat and we're not going to worry about it. Yeah, my dick's not that big. So fucking what? I'm still a man. Your dick's not that big. His dick is bigger. It doesn't matter. We're all cool here, man. Fuck it. Let yourself go. Be free. Banging the drums, right? Feeling great about ourselves until somebody shows up and is like, oh my God, there's a whole bunch of gay naked dudes over there dancing around a fire. White, fat, ugly, nasty gay dudes dancing around a fire. Dad, I beat the sacred drum. Hoo-ma, hoo-ma, and I tell you, I'm tired of you following me from your grave, haunting me, ooh-ah, ooh-ah, with your notions of success. Businesses fail. If I start a failed, but I'm okay as a person, I'm still a man. Ooh-ah-ah-ah-ooh-ah. And then you wake up in the morning going, let's never talk about that again. Ah. Up, Jasmine Emmerich says, I will watch the rest of the stream later. Gotta begin winterizing the pool. Man, that's the thing about a pool, right? You're like king of the world for like a month and a half. And the rest of the time, you're just a person that owns a really big hole. Brings us back to swinging, I guess. Lee Veltman says, I've lost the debate between Pilates and yoga. Which one is on the dark side, right? Some people say the Pilates is okay because it's yoga without all the spirituality mumbo jumbo. There's people saying you take all the spiritual mumbo jumbo out of yoga, and what are you doing? Rogue Faction says, I always thought Santeria was a mix of voodoo and Catholicism. The term voodoo in itself is a little bit hard to know and understand. Both voodoo and Santeria are what's known as Afro-Cuban syncretic religions. And what happened was this, is that the Roman Catholic missionaries coming into the new old world, Africa, Central and South America, would ban the religious practices of the native peoples and only allow for Catholic practices. And so what happened was, both in an attempt to subvert that, and this is a very simplified understanding, and there's sociologists and historians who do a much better job, talking about what I'm shoehorning in here quickly. In order to both, subvert the law and be able to maintain their native practices, but then also to seek to bridge a gap and to understand and fuse in some sort of fundamental way, or understand on a theological, cosmological level, how these two worlds, the world of the colonial invader and their own world and belief system, could be seen as being one. You would see the fusion of Catholic saints with the fusion of native deities, like Papa Legba and various other, and I think they're called Aroshas. You know, so you'd have the statue of Saint Christopher being representative of not only Saint Christopher but Saint Christopher and this other, pre-invasion spirit or god. That way, when the religious police, for want of a better word, would come to the native shaman's domicile, the native shaman could point to and say, here you see me with Saint Christopher and Jesus Christ, and what's the fucking problem? Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, if they take a close look, Saint Christopher has a bottle of rum next to him. I didn't realize Saint Christopher drank so much. Well, Saint Christopher may not drink so much, but the spirit and deity that he was fused with did. And so it becomes a way for things to survive. It becomes a way for things and traditions to hide, and it also becomes a way for new cultural ideas to be absorbed. It's on one level of thinking, one can look at the plight of the native against the usurping colonial power and only see that dynamic and only see the human side as existing in the form of the victim of colonization. But when you realize that all of these complex human interactions, though they're often very ugly, invasions, usurpations, pillagings, the taking of slave, the forced transport or migration of peoples for various reasons, famines, floods. While in many ways that this history is very ugly, we still see humans thriving and surviving, interconnecting, and growing their knowledge base and growing their communities, both as individual communities as well as communities within a net of existing alongside other communities. Remember, America is not the first melting pot nation. If you look at any depiction, any true depiction of ancient Rome, if you look at any real true depiction of ancient China or ancient India, you look at the Silk Road, you have people, thoughts, and ideas, languages, customs, and cultures, and knowledge and traditions all over, spreading and communicating and interacting all over. Very interesting. Vanessa Thor also writes, in Christianity adopted pagan practices. It all comes full circle. Absolutely. You see me with St. Christopher, what's the fucking problem? Catalog CW is another 371. Then we got to break down the gematria and the numerology and numerological implications of 371. So look, I've been here for about an hour. I don't have a million years to spend with you. We call this part one. Maybe this part one is just the beginning of the conversation. Maybe it's just the beginning of the conversation. Let me do this. Let me look to you and show you, just kind of go through. I see a thing from, this is just, this was a web search, cataloging New Age thoughts and beliefs. If this topic is interesting, I would like to see this part one turn into a part two and part three, and let's see, where we go with it. Even if it's just an exercise, knowing and understanding that, I do not have a degree in library sciences, right? meaning that I am doing this as a layperson with you guys. We're doing this together. Orishas, Baz helps us. We're doing this. This is a great topic. So it says, there you go. Rogue Factors is interesting. Let's continue. So we might not go on for too much later today, but let me look and show you kind of some things that I thought were interesting, that my initial website search turned up. Cataloging New Age thought and belief. Here we have something from pewresearch.org, dated October 1st, 2018. New Age beliefs common in both among religious and non-religious Americans. Most American adults self-identify as Christians. Many Christians hold what are sometimes characterized as New Age beliefs. That breaks down into an HTML link that goes to New Age movement from the I guess this is the online Encyclopedia Britannica. Here's something that's interesting. Written by J. Gordon Melton. He's a distinguished professor of American religious history. I know his name well. He's often considered an apologist for new religious movements, or new religious movements, or cults. It is what it is. New Age movement. So here we go. And then I'll put the link. Also, I'll put the link into the live chat for this one, because I think this could be an interesting place to take a moment. Boom. Yeah, look at me participating in the live chat. And apparently I did it as both. I did it from Twitch. Okay. As long as I didn't do it for some sort of crazy, one of my crazy, nonsense accounts. New Age movement, a New Age movement that spread through the occult and metaphysical religious communities in the 1970s and 80s. It looked forward to a new age of love and light and offered a foretaste of the coming era through personal transformation and healing. Now, there's an aspect there that I might disagree with. It looked forward to a new age of love and light. I don't know if that's critical to the definition. Here we go. The movement's strongest supporters were followers of modern esotericism, a religious perspective that is based on the acquisition of mystical knowledge, and has been popular in the West since the 2nd century AD, especially in the form of Gnosticism. So already you can see there's a historical analysis here, that there is a historical. When I first started this YouTube channel, I talked about consistently the existence of a New Age diaspora, the notion and idea that this extremely, somewhat overwhelmingly, and very confusing heterodox, heterogeneous movement could be seen to have, working and definable tributaries and historical precedents, and you could break it down, analyze it, and see, what it actually is. Ancient Gnosticism was succeeded by various esoteric movements through the centuries, including Rosicrucianism in the 17th century and Freemasonry, Theosophy, and ritual magic. Origins. He starts with Helena Blavatsky and the Philosophical Society, the Ascended Great White Brotherhood. Of course, a lot of this stuff led right to a lot of theosophical movements came out of, coexisted right next door to what was known just more generally as spiritualism. This would be things like, Swedenborgianism, if you remember that, and table rapping. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. This guy is pretty good, but I'd have to see, because I think already I'm seeing things. Well, what are you going to do? Also, it's there's going to be, to some degree, a need to simplify these things. Let me get that right there. So New Age beliefs, including the belief in reincarnation, astrology, psychics, and the presence of spiritual energy in physical objects like mountains or trees. Many Americans who are religiously unaffiliated also have these beliefs. So here we go. 6 in 10 Christians hold at least one New Age belief. And they've just broken down into a couple of categories here. A belief in spiritual energy can be located in physical things. belief in psychics, belief in reincarnation, belief in astrology. So you see that obviously that's not an exhaustive list, but you see kind of what's going on here. Okay. Um, People also ask, what are the beliefs of the New Age movement? The implications of New Age thought for this. This seems to be Christian. Let me say it's a PDF. So I think maybe where we start is by people just kind of taking a look, and me and my consistency. I'm not consistent, so don't put too much thought into it. Ooh, it's like all my accounts. The edit was very good. The edit was very good. You can feel free to put the link to that edit in the live chat for for liability purposes. I'm not going to directly comment or opine upon it. Carlos Castaneda, we see Carlos Castaneda's name showing up in the live chat. Hold on. There we go. So there's a Wikipedia entry for New Age, but it's like a meta. This is the main article for this category is New Age. Oh, very interesting. It's like a place to start. It's self-definitions. And we'll share this, and then we'll probably end here. It begins, all roads begin and end with Wikipedia, folks. New Age. This article is about the New Age movement for the astrological age in Western astrology. See, Age of Aquarius. It's the dawning of the Age of Aquarius. New Age is applied to a range of spiritual or religious beliefs and practices which rapidly grew in the Western world during the 1970s. See, there it is. We see also this Wikipedia article kind of beginning. And maybe there's a good faith argument to be made that it's a logical inference that the discussion of the New Age movement needs to start in the late 60s, early 70s. I believe that if we start thinking about it critically, that it's that we can move that calendar date, that beginning, to so much earlier. But maybe to do so is to ignore the crystallization that occurred when this particular terminology came into use. As perchance it would be worth our effort to go through the Wikipedia article, because it might be that this term New Age has some specific origin point, a point where we can see, because there's Google terms, Google search tools that you can use to find out when words kind of came into usage, or when they were first used, or when their usage picked up in popularity, grossly or largely. So look, but then again, I concede the fact that we're amateur hour over here, so maybe we are ill disposed or not well placed to do this. But I think it might be interesting to do anyway, as an exercise. This person says CW Chanter ? Yes. Where's it go? Now we're froze up. Hold on. Ooh. Now, here's something else that's interesting. It says, Baz says Castaneda is overdue for a comeback. What's interesting to me about that is because we oftentimes talk about the leading lights of the movements that we follow today. Simon Parks, David Wilcock, it's Mendoza, et cetera, et cetera. And we talk oftentimes about how they're essentially frauds. Remember Benito Massaro? Remember when he was the thing? The reason is that this notion of inventing these things, because there's nothing new under the sun. When we were recently talking about, I was doing an analysis of William Cooper broadcast from, I believe, 1995, where he was talking about, the New Age origins of these various, Freemasonic deceptions. And we were talking about how essentially all these people, from Aleister Crowley to the modern people to Carlos Castaneda, make like 90% of their shit up. The guy, what was his name? Gerald, the so-called King of the Witches, who like basically formed like a lot of them, coalesced with a lot of the main tenets of what became Gerald Gardner, that coalesced many of the things that became known as Wicca, about how he worked with Aleister Crowley. And yes, he was obviously informed by a lot of, actual historical knowledge regarding, pre-Christian traditions or folk remedies and traditions and observations that were understandable, but a lot of it was, the blanks were filled in. Or, what's his name? York. Oh, Hezedek York, or the guy that he's one of these Black Hebrew movements, where a lot of the stuff that he made up. You know what I mean? Or even just Freemasonry in general, the Order of the Golden Dawn. There's so much of this stuff that has these fantastical origin stories. If it came out of ancient Egypt or it came out of the mystery schools of Greece, and it's like, no, it didn't. It came out of people who knew enough to understand that there were mystery schools coming out of Greece, and kind of putting together after the fact what it could be, and then creating these origin documents, or the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which are an absolute, channeled stuff, or the Urantia book, which is channeled information. So it's this, and how did I get spurred off on that thought by Carlos Castaneda? Is because Carlos Castaneda's story is that he met a Native American shaman named Don Juan that taught him all these things. And after the fact, now that Carlos Castaneda has long since left planet Earth, a lot of people look back and say, hold on, let's think about this crucially, rationally, and logically. Because there's a lot of things in that was the first book, like, the Teachings of Don Juan or whatever, like the first one, where it's like a lot of it's plausible. And then you get into the second and third book, and what was the big one that a lot of people were like, yeah, there's no way that fucking happened, where there was a ceremony where Don Juan sewed the eyelids of a small lizard together. And it's like, number one, that's fucked up. Number two, there's no one can find any contemporaneous accounts or historical accounts of that being a legitimate native shaman practice of the desert tribes. And then number three, they go, how exactly do you fucking do that? And there's a lot of people that say that maybe there was a Don Juan that Carlos Castaneda knew at the beginning of his journey that informed the character in his book. And then there's a lot of people that say Carlos Castaneda probably made all this shit up. Up. SBA Truth, SBA Savior says, I see the chanter cult grows ever so slightly. Justice may be blind, but is also overreaching. I would be careful who you associate with. Who you people associate with. Oh, man. Shots fired. Imaginary shots fired. Was that the... Oh, where did he first show up? Benjamin, speaking of frauds, careful, your tongue is bleeding. My tongue is bleeding? Is that an expression or a phrase? But God bless you. Thank you. Don't forget. Hey, listen, SBA's Truth, SBA Savior. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe with all of your accounts. Okay, if you want to make sure that you get all of the accounts, all of the updates, you got to make sure to. Baz has the book, the Carlos Castaneda book, Journey to Ixtlan. I think that's the one where it gets like beyond crazy. Is that the one? There you go. There you go. Now we're involved. People are getting involved in questions. We've been here an hour and 11 minutes. It's 2:30. I've got a time. You know what? Actually, holy motherfucker. I forgot to set God is with me. God is with me. Goddess is with me. As I look at the time, I realize I had made a powerful assumption regarding how long we would be here talking. And wait, no, I'm screwing up. But I'm still going to go. I've got an excuse. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I love you. I love you. I love you. If no one told you they loved you today, somebody just did. That's somebody CW Chanter. I'm going to look at these articles. You look at these articles too. We'll get back and we'll come back and we'll continue our discussion of cataloging New Age thoughts and beliefs. The notion of to name it is to claim it. Thank you for permission to stay, but I'm going to go. I've got a life. But I love you. Let's do this. Let's do this. To name it is to claim it, and to name it and claim it is to come closer to simplifying the understanding of it. People want me to stay. God bless you. God bless you for requesting me to stay, but I gotta go. But we'll leave it with, you sure spread a lot of love. Justice is coming. If justice is coming for the one that spreads a lot of love, then what does the one who spreads a lot of love have to fear of justice? Right? But I'm not worried. I thank you for your participation in the live chat, because we all know and understand that no one associated with the SBA would actually come to the live chat and post. We appreciate you taking the time and effort, whoever you are, to create a new shill account. Don't forget to go all over the place. Don't forget to hit up Points on the Curve and Stina Bobina and get involved in those conversations over there. You might want to pop into Project Camelot every once in a while. Have fun over there. I love you. 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 If no one told you that they loved you today, somebody just did that. Somebody's CW Chanter. Make of that what you will. And I will talk to you all again real soon as our conversation continues. Be prepared to leave your thoughts and comments and ideas regarding the cataloging of New Age beliefs in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and all that other shill stuff that I'm supposed to say as a YouTube person. There you go. I'll talk to y'all again real soon.